mine in Pat Burrow. Pat, how are you today?
Bill, I'm doing great, man. Glad to be on with you.
Giants fans, this is Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On your exclusive home of the San Francisco Giants. KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
The fans who are still here, and there are still a lot of them on a hot day. On their feet now. 2-2 pitch. Swing and a line drive. Caught by Cost, the second baseman, going to his right. The ball game is over. And the Giants take 2 out of 3 from the Baltimore Orioles. They take 5 out of 6 on this homestand.
Welcome into an extra inning post-game show on a Sunday, and I will call it a fun day Sunday. And what a fun homestand as the Giants complete a 5-1 record, sweeping the Cubs, taking 2 out of 3 from the Baltimore Orioles. And really, it started on Friday when the Giants scored 15 runs on 18 hits, and they beat the Orioles 15-8. An embarrassing loss last night, 11-1. That was yesterday afternoon. And I just wanted to see what kind of spunk they had, what kind of energy they had today. And didn't take long as they beat up the Baltimore Orioles 13-2 on 16 hits. 13 runs, 16 hits. And in the 6 games homestand, they scored 50 runs, 50. That's the most runs they've scored at a homestand against, at Oracle Park, I should say, for the history of Oracle Park. 50 runs. They've got 61 runs in 8 games when you add the 2 games against Milwaukee. And you start looking at numbers, as I said, 5-1 homestand, 7-1 in their last 8. And 7-3 in their last 10. That was their 3rd straight series win, of course, with Milwaukee last weekend. 2 out of 3 there. They swept the Cubs, and then again 2 out of 3 from the Baltimore Orioles. And the offense took in. The offense just took off from Rafael Devers batting second, hitting his 28th home run in the first inning. They ended up getting 2 in the third, 4 in the fourth, 3 in the sixth, 3 in the eighth. And, of course, the Orioles got 2 in the top of the 9th. But it was just a great game on the offensive side. And all you Rafael Devers fans that have been calling in, complaining about Rafi Devers, well, how about these numbers, Giants fans? 11 for 23 on this homestand, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. And in the last 14 games, 16 for 48 with 5 home runs, 12 RBIs, 13 runs scored, and 9 walks. Yes, that's the Rafael Devers that Buster Posey traded for. That's the Rafael Devers we've been waiting for, and he is on a tear. Another one that's on a tear is Luis Matos in 10 games. 16 for 37. 16 for 37. 3 home runs, 3 doubles. 2 stolen bases, 8 RBIs, and this is what we've been waiting for again for the 23-year-old that's just hitting in the 7th spot, a perfect spot in the lineup for him, and he has just caught fire for the San Francisco Giants. Well, we turn it over to the pitching side, and what a performance Justin Verlander turned in today. He fought this whole game through 121 pitches. 121. Haven't heard that in many years, and he fought to get through 5 innings to get the win through 121 pitches. And he's 42 years old. Come on now. That's amazing. 81 for strikes, 14 first pitch strikes out of 22 hitters. But this was the problem here. The Baltimore Orioles had 33 foul balls off of him. 33. They just kept, going after him. He kept pumping strike after strike. 23 swing throughs. And in the 121 pitches, he threw 48 were fastballs, 22 curveballs, 20 sliders, 12 sweepers, 19 changeup. He threw his whole arsenal out there today to get through 5 innings to get his 3rd win on the year. And you start looking at what he did pitches per inning, 26 the first inning, 24 the second, 24 the third, 20 the fourth, and then 27 in the 5th. He didn't have one easy inning, not one easy inning, and he went out there and put zeros on the board for 5 innings, only giving up 3 hits, 4 walks, and 10 strikeouts. 10 strikeouts. He's the oldest player now that had 10 strikeouts. In Major League Baseball, he beat a buddy of mine. Vida Blue did it when he was 37 years old. So this is great news for Justin Verlander. I know he's going to be sore the next couple days, but they'll get a day off on Thursday, so hopefully they push him one more. But this was good for him. This was a battle he needed to win, and he sure enough did that. And you start looking at all the things that he's been doing well. His last Cub game really pitched well in that game when he went 6 innings, 2 hits, 2 earned runs. He got 2 wins in a row now as the San Francisco Giants take a 5-1 homestand, winning 13-2. Just a great, great homestand. As I said, I thought yesterday when I did my extra inning postgame show, I was saying this is a game that I want to see how they're going to rebound as they lost 11-1. And they faced a very good pitcher in Trevor Rogers. He was dialed in for the last 14 games. So you turn the page and you feel this game out. How is this team going to come out with energy, spunk? And they did. And you start looking at up and down what this lineup did. Ramos goes 3 for 5. Devers goes 3 for 5. Dominic Smith 1 for 4. Then you go a little farther down the order. Luis Matos 2 for 4. Koss 2 for 5. And Drew Gilbert goes 3 for 5 with a triple, a double, and a single, and he ended up having 3 RBI. So a good game for the Giants, as now they go on a road trip that's real important. They go to Colorado for 3, and then they go to St. Louis for 3 before they come back and face the Arizona Diamondbacks and the LA Dodgers. The Diamondbacks for 6, the Dodgers for 7. But let's take this game to game. 25 games left. They are 5 games back in the wild card. They are 68 and 69. Yes, there is an opportunity. Yes, there is a chance. The probable numbers are against them. But I've been saying this now for a week. You take each game and you start mounting an attack. Mounting an attack. Keep winning. Keep winning. And they have. In their last 8 games, they're 7-1. 415-808 KNBR. Let's talk Giants baseball. Got a fantastic show lined up today. Steve Stone's going to join me. Of course, he was a Cy Young winner with the Baltimore Orioles, where he won 25 games back in the day. And also Rick Dempsey, 24 years behind the plate as a catcher. He caught 10 20-game winners, and he's also in the Oriole Hall of Fame. But 2 fantastic interviews later in the show. You don't want to miss either one of these. These are good ones. So let's take a quick break on the Extra Inning Postgame Show, get some callers calling in, and let's talk Giants baseball on a fun day Sunday. I got to say it again as the Giants win 13-2. You're listening to me. I'm Bill Laskey on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on the Sports Leader.
You're listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Crowd offering its vocal support for Verlander. The right-hander delivers. He struck him out swinging. Change up. He walks off the mound kind of with a sheepish grin on his face and kind of shaking his head like, oh my Lord, how hard can this be? But the fans appreciate the effort, 5 shutout innings, and he waves his appreciation right back to them as he heads down into the dugout.
All right, back on the Extra Inning post-game show on a Sunday. What a homestand the Giants put together. 5-1, taking 3 from the Cubs, taking 2 out of 3 from the Baltimore Orioles. And what a performance the 42-year-old right-hander Justin Verlander did. And as John Miller said, he took his hat off and tipped it to the crowd, something that I wish more players would do when that standing ovation is for him. And they were fighting for him to get through those 5 innings. He struggled. He still got through it with 27 pitches, 121 pitches for the day for Justin Verlander. And what a performance, and a gutsy one, and he pulled it off, and he got the win. And Spencer Bivens put 3 innings in the book, and he got his first career save, so that was pretty cool on Spencer Bivens as he goes 3 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, no strikeouts. But he gave them innings, and that's what you got to look at, trying to finish out a game. I just don't like position players going into pitch. I just think it's very embarrassing for the game of baseball. We never did it back in my day, and it just was sad today to watch Alex Jackson throw for the Orioles where he was lobbing the ball in like slow pitch softball till he finally just threw it in there. So something's got to change there. I think either they can't have a position pitcher throw, or he goes out there and throws at least 50%, 60% of the speed and not lobbing the ball in like that. And like I said, this is Major League Baseball. This is what you pay for. This is what you come out and watch. So better performance, I think that's what has to look into those kind of pitchers going out there. All right, let's get to the phone lines. Got a full flock of calls. Let's go to Leslie. She's leaving the game. Leslie, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show. You got to have a smile ear to ear after that win.
I mean, really, how about this? There's nothing like it. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It was
Wasn't that a fun one?
Phenomenal. I mean, we literally just got back from the game. It was so hot. It was so hot. We were sweating, and we were
85 degrees. They said 85 degrees at Oracle Park is a one in a lifetime. It's never that warm out there, and the Giants put a show on for you today, Leslie.
Oh yeah, we were with a bunch of great people. I mean, the fans are so great, and everyone's just like sweating and buying cold beer and trying to keep cool. It was phenomenal, and the whole. The whole team, the whole KNBR team. So my husband and I go, and we sit next to each other, and then we have a radio. We listen to the game, each with one earbud on, so we can hear, John and Dave
Miller,
Call the game.
Dave Fleming, sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
The
inside of the game. That's what's fun about it.
And
You hear a lot. You see a lot of people with AirPods in or just headphones on as they listen to the game, and you're getting inside of the game. You're getting statistics as the game's going on, and it makes the game fun too.
It adds so much. I mean, so does the spicy. I get a hot dog there. A killer caramel corn. I mean, and
garlic fries today, Leslie. No garlic fries. No garlic fries.
I don't do the garlic fries, but we always stop by. There's a little store in the corner, and we get our lucky bag of peanuts. So I think we get credit for the win because we got the lucky bag of peanuts. But Bill, the last time I called, which was maybe a year ago, I told you that for everyone on the team, we have nicknames, and it started when Brandon Crawford, who we loved and forever will remember
this call.
Best shortstop.
Yeah.
And we used to call him Jesse because he looked like Jesse from the show Full House. And we would scream, "Go Jesse!" And people thought we were idiots because we didn't know the team. So I promised you last time a nickname, and I'm going to give it to you. I know you were in your day. You were called the tree, right?
Yes, I
You were
was.
referred
That
to
was a
as
nickname from basketball.
Yeah.
That was a nickname for basketball, though.
basketball.
So do you remember, let me ask you,
Yeah.
Leslie, do you remember Wayne
Okay.
Tree Rollins? He was a basketball player from
Yes.
Atlanta.
Yes.
Do you remember him?
Yes.
Well, a story,
They-
I
my
went
dad
to the
was a big
Detroit
Bulls
Piston.
fan. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh.
I went to a Detroit Piston game with my buddy, and my buddy knew one of the players, and we're standing on the sidelines, and Wayne Tree Rollins came over to me and started high-fiving me every time he went through the layup for layups, and my buddy goes, "Oh my God, do you know who that is?" And I go, "Yeah, that's Tree Rollins." He goes, "You're the next Tree Rollins," and that name stuck, and ever since then, I've been the Tree.
I
There's
did
your
not know
answer.
that. Well, I just think because you are so remarkable and we all adore you that we're going to elevate your nickname. I am going to
All
refer
right, I'm
to
waiting.
you as, and I'm referring to you forevermore as the Redwood. Because come
The
on, you're
Redwood, okay, I like it.
biggest
I
of
like
the
it.
trees, the most grand, the most
There you
knowledgeable.
go.
So you got
Yeah.
all the
Okay.
history.
Hey, you can call
So-
me Redwood. That's a good name. It lasts forever.
it will last forever. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you make it all.
Leslie, let me
all
ask you a
make it-
question about the game. Let me ask you something. What
Let
about
me see if I
Justin
can answer.
Verlander going out there and throwing 121 pitches today in 5 innings? What about his performance?
Unbelievable. I mean, and the
I
tip of
know.
the hat, we all live for the tip of the hat, and that was just a
Right.
beautiful moment, and the crowd.
And
was
that's
so
what I
good.
was saying. You
And I
need to
was
see
worried.
more of that. You know, the fans stand up and they give you applause, and the guy puts his head down. And he walks in like he just gave up 10 runs. And I want to see more expression from the players because the fans are the fans were up in the 5th inning like it was 2 outs in the 9th inning to try to get that win for him.
Oh yeah, I mean, it is. I get that. Now, I'll argue with you a little bit. Just that there is something that I do love about the humble nature of a ball player, and that they don't grandstand. They don't do, in football. I'm such not a football person, but they don't do the crazy dances and the, spiking the ball. I sort of love how humble they are. But yeah,
Well,
a little
being
more.
humble, but I'm
it
talking
has-
about a pitcher coming off the mound. A pitcher coming off the mound, he fights all game. He comes out in maybe the 8th or 9th inning, and everybody's on their feet applauding. Just a little tip of the hat is all. That's all I'm looking for. And we did it in our day, and it was just a gesture to say, "I hear you. You're supporting me, and I thank you." And that's all I'm looking for.
Totally agree. 1,000% agree. And did you say that no one has done what he's done since Vida Blue?
Yeah, the oldest pitcher to have 10 strikeouts or more in a game. He's now, Vida Blue was the last one at 37 years old. He did it. And now with Justin Verlander doing with 10, he eclipsed Vida at 42 years old, which is a cool record. And the longevity of a pitcher and the longevity of it going out there and getting 10 strikeouts at 42 years old. My goodness, that was exceptional.
Exceptional. It really was. And, at the beginning of the season, I will be truthful here because truth is good. I was really worried. I mean, I love President Buster Posey. We love that Buster's doing his thing, but I got really worried that I couldn't even keep up with who we were losing and who we were gaining. I was like, oh, God, am I going to know anyone on
That
the
was
team?
back in the Farhan
And it-
days, correct? The Farhan Zaidi days. There was just too many revolving doors with players, and there was nothing where a fan could go to a player and say, hey, you're going to be here next year. Hey, I don't know what's going on. But now you have a base. You have Devers, Chapman, Adames, Ramos. You got a good base. And how about this guy, Luis Matos? How about how hot he's got, Leslie?
Oh, unbelievable. We love him. And I have a nickname for him, which isn't going to make any sense to anybody, but I love the singer Luis Miguel, who sings all the classic, beautiful songs. And so the best song he sings is Besame Mucho. So Luis, to me, is Luis Besame, or Besame Luis.
There's that nickname, Leslie. You got nicknames
know,
flowing
you
today.
gotta
So next
do
time
it.
you call in, call
Okay.
in, Leslie, and don't make it a year from now. When you call in, the first thing I want you to say is, how's it going, Redwood? And I'm going to know exactly who you are.
I love it. I love it. And my nickname is Bucky. So Bucky is what I should
Bucky?
have said. Is Bucky Collins.
Okay,
Bucky,
I'm
yeah,
going to write
'cause there's
that
a lot of
down.
stuff.
Leslie is now Bucky, and Bill is now Redwood. How's that?
Oh, I could not be more pleased. I'm so glad I got to talk to
Bucky,
you.
have a
Thanks
good
for
day.
everything.
Thanks for calling in. I appreciate your time today. Let's go to South San Francisco and talk to Alexander. Alexander, you're on an extra inning post-game show, a fun Sunday, and the Giants had a great homestand going 5-1.
Yes, thank you for having me. I actually called the other day in excitement too, and I went to the game this time, and what a great atmosphere, and like you said, the tip of the cap with a gutsy performance by Verlander. It was just like the Giants can win, like if they continue to chip away like they did today. I think they could beat like every game, like if
yeah, well, this next road trip, Alexander, I think you and I talked about this, Alexander. This road trip going into Colorado and St. Louis are going to be an important 6 games. They have to win these series or sweep them, and it's possible. But at the same time, they got to have the same motivation and the same fight that they had in this homestand where they went 5-1. And if they do, they can cut these games down a little closer. But you know what I keep talking about, Alexander? The wall that's coming in front of them, the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, that's going to tell us what's going to happen in this wild card. If they can contend with these 2 teams, and they got them for 13 games, it's going to be tough because there's only 25 left.
And I agree, and I think we have like you said, the assets to do it, the longevity of the core that you just said, with Devers, Chapman, Adames. Those are great pieces to have to continue to win and fight for the next, not only for the next 25 games, but the future to come.
Right, and I think that's what we're trying to see out of these guys. We haven't seen it in a while, and when you hear 50 runs at the home games of 6 games, that's impressive. And the numbers are starting to come out as these guys are getting hot, they're getting comfortable, they're playing with each other on the same field as well as during the lineup, fighting for each other. And today it was just that kind of game. As I said this, Alexander, yesterday in the post-game show, I wanted to see what kind of fight they would have after losing 11-1, and then they scored 15 on Friday. But today they came back with that same energy, and they took it out in Sagano, and I was real pleased with that, and I'm sure you were too.
Yes, and just to, like, it was my first game going to Oracle Park, and like the atmosphere is like almost like the times you were in the playoff runs. And I just felt like I was just thinking about this like on the Uber back to my house. I was just like, it's a little bit like the Giants torture in like the beginning of the playoff runs, but I think it has a little bit of their own flavor because I think we're just a little bit better offensively, but there's still that torture that we are all accustomed to. But,
It's always those last couple innings, right, Alexander? It's the last few innings. Can they score? Can they hold them off? But, Alexander, good. I'm glad you got to go watch a game. 39,000 people were there today, and they all went home with a smile on their face as the San Francisco Giants win 13-2. Thanks for your call, Alexander. Let's go to San Jose and talk to my buddy Dennis. Dennis, you fired up after this game?
Yeah, I am. Look, Bill, I want to ask you a question now. Do you think there's a chance? I'm not sure, but do you think there's a chance we get Verlander another year?
I'm not even going to comment on that. You paid him $15 million. He is 42 years old. That's for the front office to decide. But lately he has been pitching very well. Through 121 pitches, that tells you his arm is fine. It's just if you want to fill him up in a starting rotation with one more spot for another year. I don't know. It's a 50-50 thing with me. I don't know what they're going to look at in the free agent market or a trade market for another starting pitcher. They do have a couple holes they have to fill. Landon Roop will take the 3rd spot. You also have Hayden Birdsong, Carson Whisenhunt in the next, couple spots there. So, there's a lot of question marks, but I think Dennis, as the season continues, we're going to find out in the month of September if he can pull off some games like he did today.
From the playoffs. And, I remember in 2010 we were like 6 games out, and we came back and won the World Series that year.
Yeah,
and,
I remember that.
They're getting hot right now. They're hitting the ball pretty good. So they continue doing this month, and don't take advantage. Don't overlook the Rockies. You got to win 3 right there.
I'm right there with you, buddy. I'm right there with you. Carson Whisenhunt earlier went on the IL. Kai Tang will be getting the start tomorrow. That'll be a good little series. You got Kai Tang, Logan Webb, and Robbie Ray all in Colorado. Let's hope Robbie Ray's finger's fine. His last outing had that little blister or cut. Going against Case, Chase Dolander tomorrow. He's 2-11 with a 6.55 earned run average. You can't look at numbers in Colorado. You got to go out there and perform and keep adding runs because you never have enough runs in Colorado. You know that, Dennis. But, hey, let's just look for tomorrow. It's an afternoon game, a Labor Day afternoon game, and I'll be doing the extra inning post-game show after that. So let's keep a good roll going as the Giants have now won 7 out of 8 games, a nice homestand 5 out of 6. Thanks, Dennis. All right, we're going to take a quick break on the extra inning post-game show. More calls coming up. And, of course, later in the show, Steve Stone and Rick Dempsey. You don't want to miss these 2 interviews. Fantastic players, fantastic pitchers, and I'm going to tell you, 2 fantastic interviews. That's coming up later in the show, but more calls coming up next. I'm Bill Laskey. This is the extra inning post-game show. You are listening to KNBR, the sports leader.
From the mound to the mic, this is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him by saying to your smart speaker, play KNBR.
Gilbert has an infield hit today and a run scored. He swings away here and drives one to left. Going back on the ball is Johnson. He falls down, and the ball goes by him. Bailey is in, flying to third toss. They're going to wave him around, and sprinting to third is Gilbert. He's in there safely. 2 runs are in. 6-0 Giants. And the Orioles defense has just collapsed. That was going to be a run, but it should have been caught. And Daniel Johnson got back and just fell down. Literally just fell down. And Gilbert will get credit for a triple, which is a total gift. That's his first career triple. 6-0 Giants. And that means he'll also get 2 runs batted in.
Back on the Extra Inning post-game show with Bill Laskey, I love Dave Fleming saying, it's a gift. It's a triple. It's a gift. And it was, as Daniel Johnson fell down. His foot slipped on the turf, and the ball went by him, and he gets a triple, 2 runs in. But in the box score tomorrow, we'll say a triple by Drew Gilbert. But the Giants have to win 13-2 today. 13 runs, 16 hits. 1 home run by Rafael Devers, his 28th on the year. And I said this earlier on the homestand, he went 11 for 23, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs. Get hot, Rafael Devers. Boy, he was swinging the bat well. Well, the Giants in the last 14 games have hit 26 home runs. 26 home runs. I continue to say that. Last time they did that was in 2002. So the Giants have won their 3rd straight series win, and they finish out the month of August at 14-14. 14-14. We can go quickly. March 3-1, April 16-11, May 13-14, June 13-14. A miserable month of July where they went 9-15, and they bounced back for a 14-14 record for the month of August. Tomorrow, Labor Day, first pitch tomorrow is 1:10 right here on KNBR. Kai Tang will be taking the rock tomorrow for the San Francisco Giants. He'll be going against Chase Dollander, 23-year-old right-hander, 2-11 with a 6.55 earned run average. Got beat up by the Dodgers. He went 3 2/3, 9 hits, 7 earned runs. Pitched well against Houston, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. But in Colorado, we know how crazy it can get there, and the Giants will go in there with a hot offense. And let's see if they can continue this winning way. All right, let's go to Nelson. He's in San Mateo. Nelson, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show with Bill Laskey. A great win, but I got to tell you, the homestand being 5-1 is a topper.
Hi, Bill. Happy Labor
How are
Day.
you, Nelson?
Oh,
good game
pretty
today,
good.
Nelson. Good.
Yeah, it was a good game, yeah.
What'd you think of all the
I
offense
like-
on
I
this
like-
homestand, Nelson?
I like Devers hitting today.
Yeah, he's been on fire. 11 for 23 on the homestand. That's a big plus for him.
Yeah.
What'd you think of
Well, I
Justin
have a
Verlander,
chance to
Nelson?
get-
How about Justin Verlander out there throwing today? He did very well.
That's terrific for his age, yeah.
Well, what do you think of this Giants team? They're 68-69. They're 1 game under 500. Of course, they're going on a road trip to Colorado and St. Louis. What do you think this team can do here in the last 25 games, Nelson?
I'm not really sure, but I had my eye on the playoffs a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I have
Well,
a
they're
chance
5 games
to go
back in the
Oracle
wild
Park.
card, right? They're 5 games back in the wild card, and we'll see how this all translates. But, Nelson, let's just cross our fingers and let them keep playing good baseball. I think that's what we want to see, Nelson. So, hey, thanks for calling in. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and you take care of yourself on a Sunday. Let's go to John. He's in South City. John, you're on an Extra Inning post-game show. How are you today?
Bill, I'm doing pretty well today. And first of all, happy Labor Day to you, by the way, as well, on a great Giants win.
Yeah, that's going on tomorrow against Colorado. I want to see this offense go on this road trip and do what they did here. 50 runs they scored in 6 games. That's impressive.
You're absolutely right, Bill. Hey, Bill, you mentioned at your show about how they can bounce back from yesterday's loss from today.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did a great job today, and I thought Verlander having 10 strikeouts today. What a day for Justin Verlander today, Bill. I mean, he pitched pretty well
inning,
today.
John, every inning he threw 20 or more pitches. Every inning. 26, 24, 24, 20, and 27. And he got through the 5 innings. And I love the crowd giving him a standing ovation, trying to get that last out in the 5th inning, because they knew if he did, he was going to get the win, as they were up 7-0 at that time. And that's what I love about Giants fans. They're into the game. They understand the game. And, of course, they're all waiting for him to go 5 innings to get the win. And he did, and he picked up his 3rd win.
You're absolutely right, Bill. And I liked it when he tipped his cap to the fans. I mean, he battled out there today. I mean, he pitched well. And then the offense, they came back, after having 5 hits yesterday's game. That was not good yesterday's game. I was there yesterday. It wasn't good baseball mentality,
Well, Trevor Rogers is a tough pitcher. I mean, that's kind of a guy that you look at. If he was pitching all year the way he's been, he's an instant Cy Young winner, because he's been so consistent. 14 starts with 1 run or less in each one. His last 5 outings, 1 run or none, and he's been dominant. And whatever he did in Miami, he came over to Baltimore, got injured out of spring training. But boy, looking into next year, Baltimore's got an ace on that staff.
Yep, they do. That's their future ace right there. And as you mentioned about tomorrow's game against the Rockies, they need to score runs early in Colorado. It's not a friendly ballpark, as we know. You can't take the Rockies lightly. You can't take them lightly tomorrow.
Well, and the problem that I saw here, which I didn't know, Carson Whisenhunt had lower back injury, stiffness, and they put him on the IL today. They brought up Kaiwei Tang. That's just it bugs me a little bit. Another pitcher going down. Of course, Landon Roop with his knee. That's a tough one. Then Randy Rodriguez with a Tommy John on his elbow. These are all young arms that the Giants are looking for the future. And those are the things that I worry about as September rolls in, with minor injuries and, of course, a major injury with Rodriguez.
Yeah, and another thing is, Bill, do we see any September call-ups coming up from Sacramento this week, or is it too early to tell?
No, they can. They can. I think it's up to 28 now. It's not like it used to be where they could bring up 40 guys. That's what was fun about when they did that in September. You'd see 10, 12 guys come up, and the whole dugout would be full, and the clubhouse would have portable lockers in it because you didn't have enough lockers. But they'll probably bring up a couple arms. I would think maybe another pitcher. You might see Tyler Fitzgerald coming back up. He's on the roster. It's all the guys that are on the roster. It's going to be very difficult to make a roster change with a 40-man roster to add somebody or subtract somebody. But I can see this. And Sacramento's in the playoffs, so I'm sure they're going to look at a couple things if they need anybody. But I can see that if they add another arm or two in the bullpen, that helps them.
Most likely that could happen. And, Bill, I know you mentioned about if this team can make a run. I think they may have a shot to make, if they can make some, put pressures on our teams. And
it's not. They're not out, John. They're not eliminated yet. Sure, the numbers are against them. You got 25 games, 13 of those against the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks. But if you get hot like they have been, it doesn't matter. You just got done playing the Brewers and the Cubs, and they're just as good as the Dodgers and the D-backs. You play good, sound baseball, good defense. And I think that's what we want to see from the offensive side. 16 hits today. Come on, 16, and then you had 18 on Friday. That's what the offense that we're looking for. And the main guys are getting hot, and that's what we keep talking about. John, you and I have talked about the foundation of this team, the older guys, the veterans. Those are the guys that are going to make this team stable. Those are the guys that are going to come up with the clutch hits.
Yeah, most likely. Bill, it's great talking to you today, and hopefully I'll chat with you tomorrow when the Giants hopefully get a win against the Rockies tomorrow.
Let's do it, John. Let's continue the streak, buddy, and let's have a good road trip. But thanks for the call again, John. I appreciate it. Let's go out to Berkeley and talk to Andrea. Andrea, a fun day Sunday. We finally had a good one today, 13-2. You got to be happy with that.
Oh, yes, I had to call in. I was having some technical and planetary difficulties, but it's like, I got to call in. It's Sunday Fun Day. And we really earned
Especially
it.
with that score, right? That score
yes.
did it.
That was very convincing. 13-2. And
well, our
got some
42-year-old pitching coach pitched pretty well today, Andrea. I know you and I talked about him out of spring training and saying he could be a pitching coach. And, boy, he threw a gem today. He fought through the whole thing. And when you throw 121 pitches at 42 years old, if you're not going to be sore the next couple of days, you must be a miracle man.
Yeah, see, we had some vintage Verlander. I mean, 5 innings pitched. And, well, this was interesting, the stat that Laura Britt posted on X. The strikeouts were the most in a Giants pitcher, double-digit strikeouts since Vida Blue in 8/31/1986. And that happens
I
to
had
be
mentioned
the
that
same.
earlier. that earlier. He's the oldest pitcher that did that. Vida did it at, I think he was 37. I'm not 36 or 37, but Verlander did it with that 10 strikeout performance. And you know, the thing about it is every inning it was just foul balls. They had 33 foul balls off of him. When you're looking at 121 pitches, 33 of those were foul balls. It seemed like he was 3-2 on every hitter, but yet he got through it. 81 strikes, 121 pitches. That's very, very impressive.
121 pitches. He, doffed his cap when he got the ovation. It really was vintage Verlander. And really the planets aligned, and baseball gods and goddesses, same date as Vida Blue, getting his double-digit strikeouts, 8/31/1986.
So you got to give me a forecast, Andrea. Let me ask you this, Andrea, since you like to look at the stars and the moon. 25 games left. Do the Giants have an opportunity to get in a wild card? What's your thought on that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to believe. I remember in 1973, the Mets were in the cellar all summer. And then they made it to the playoffs and that magical season. And, it's just something where there's life, there's hope. And the bats and the defense and the pitching, all have to click. So I'm thinking good thoughts. And
and this is a road trip I think they're going to have to shine in. They go to Colorado and play for 3. You can't look at Colorado. They're 39-98. You can't look at their record. You got to go out there and win every game and play good defense and score more than a couple runs. You got to get cricket numbers and continue to add on like they did on this homestand where they scored 50 runs in 6 games. But Andrea, we'll turn the page, and tomorrow is September 1st. Labor Day. I'll be doing an extra inning post-game show tomorrow, so we'll be able to talk more, Andrea. But have a great Sunday fun day. Continue to have a smile on your face as the Giants win 13-2.
Same to you, Bill. Great show.
Thanks, Andrea. All right, we're going to close up the calls and get to these interviews. These are fantastic interviews. Steve Stone, of course, 25 wins with the Baltimore Orioles and won a Cy Young Award. And, of course, he pitched with the Cubs. And the biggest thing was he and I were friends. He and I both went to Kent State University, and he was ahead of me, so I got to meet him a long time ago. And I followed his career, and we got to cross paths. And I gave him a call once I saw the Orioles coming to town, and we knocked out a great interview. So that's going to be the first one coming up is Steve Stone as a Cy Young winner with the Baltimore Orioles. That's coming up next right here on the Extra Inning Postgame Show on KNBR, the Sports Leader. Did you ever think you could become a big league baseball player? Well, now you can. Come to Big League Coaching Fantasy Camp. It's January 11th through January 17th, 2026 in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. Our host hotel is the Marriott Suites for the week. Come play with the great coaches, Joe Youngblood, Shooty Babbitt, Tim Flannery, Scott Garrelts, Mark Davis. Go to bigleaguecoaching.org and sign up today. Become a big leaguer.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with former Giants right-hander Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Hear him on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR. Play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning postgame show with Bill Laskey as I bring on a fellow Kent State University grad. He played 11 years in Major League Baseball in 1980, American League Cy Young winner. That same year, he's an American League All-Star and current broadcaster with the Chicago White Sox, my good friend Steve Stone. Steve, how are you?
Good, Bill. And yourself?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining me. And I had to bring Kent State University because we both went there. How about that?
Yeah, it's put out a surprising amount of professional athletes in a lot of different sports. And, of course, those of us who went there around that time just remember Thurman Munson, who was my catcher, and a pretty good one. Jack Lambert was a pretty good middle linebacker for Pittsburgh, and of course he was a Kent State product. So yeah, we've for a fairly innocuous university, we put out our share of pros.
Well, you got drafted by the Cleveland Indians. You didn't sign. You ended up signing in 1969. with the San Francisco Giants, the fourth round in the January draft. Pretty excited back then, Steve. And did you know much about the Giants? Because we both were from Ohio.
Well, what I knew about them was they had 4 Hall of Famers on a team that became my first team in the major leagues, my first team in professional ball. I signed in 69 with the Giants, and in 71, I wound up making the team as the third starter behind Juan Marichal and Gaylord Perry. And we had those 2 Hall of Famers along with Willie McCovey and Willie Mays, and Bobby Bonds, a member of the 30-30 club 5 different times with 5 different teams. He was our right fielder. So we had a team of a lot of stars that wound up winning the division that year in 71.
Yeah, you did. Really good year. And of course, Candlestick Park was there. How did you like throwing at Candlestick?
Oh, about like you'd like getting hit in the head with a 2x4. It was a difficult place to pitch because we'd go back east to spend a 2-week road trip in those days and come back, and it would be 90 plus with humidity and heat in the east, and then we'd get out to San Francisco. We'd start the games, and it would be 48, 49 degrees during those games. So it was a difficult place to pitch. In fact, I know the ballpark is no longer there, but if you look very closely around where the mound used to be, you'll see 10 miles an hour of my fastball on that mound, because I had 4 cases of tendonitis in 2 years, lost a lot of elasticity, and had to go and make an adjustment because that big fastball wasn't there anymore.
That's great, Steve. Steve Stone joined me on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. You got traded to the White Sox, traded to the Cubs, but I want to talk about 1978 when you signed as a free agent with the Baltimore Orioles. At that time, a very strong team the Orioles had. Tell me your thoughts going into free agency and why you had chose Baltimore.
Well, I didn't want to be a free agent in the first place. As it turned out, I was the Cubs' first free agent. That was at 76 year, and that was the first year of free agency. So I became the first free agent to leave the Cubs. Didn't want to, but they didn't want to sign me, and you can't manufacture a contract if they don't want to give one to you. So um, I did sign. Bill Veeck took a gamble on me for 1 year. I wound up leading his staff in victories, winning 15 games with a very exciting team called the Southside Hitmen in 77 for the White Sox, and had a really good time. It opened the door to 2 years back with the White Sox, my second tour with them, and then got a chance to be a free agent again per a deal I had with Bill Veeck, and wound up signing a 4-year deal with the Orioles, which turned out to be the best thing career-wise that ever happened to me because we did have a very good team. We had a wonderful Hall of Fame manager named Earl Weaver, who really knew his business, knew what he was doing. They assembled a good enough group of guys over there. It wasn't superstars, but it was a lot of guys that fit in very nicely into a team concept. And we won 102 games in 1979, and then we won 100 games in 1980, and the Yankees won 103. So we were the first team to win in triple digits and go home because there was no wild card. And I have to believe that what happened to us that year kind of paved the way to having the wild card, so that your fandom still had hopes that you could make it even if you couldn't win the division.
Well, you jump in there in 1979, and what a foundation of starting pitchers. Mike Flanagan, Dennis Martinez, Scott McGregor, Jim Palmer was a 5-man rotation. And you ended up going into the World Series, as you said. You lost to the Pirates 4-3, ended up winning the AL crown. What did you think of jumping into this new team? Because, boy, oh boy, you had Rick Dempsey behind the plate, Eddie Murray, Rich Dower. Ended up having Mark Belanger down the road, Al Bunbury, Ken Singleton, just some great players. And it was a new team for you. How was that whole concept moving all the way into the World Series in 79?
Well, certainly it was a thrill, and whenever you get a chance to play in a team that can really, really play and understand a whole lot about how to win games late, which is the secret to getting in the postseason and eventually making an effort of getting a World Series championship. We were up 3-1, didn't get it. Chuck Tanner's mother passed away, and the team, the We Are Family Pirates of '79, rallied around him. They won the last 3, including the final 2 in our ballpark, and they wound up winning the World Series. So at that point, you always believe you're going to get another shot at it. I didn't, but it was a pleasure to be playing there. Those guys were true professionals. They understood exactly what it took to win, and it was a thrill. It really was. And I got a chance to start the All-Star game in 1980. Brought my parents out from Cleveland, and I threw 3 perfect innings, which hadn't been done for I think we're like 12 to 14 years. I'm not sure. I think Denny McClain did it 12 to 14 years before. Nobody had done it till I did it again, and nobody will ever do it again because they won't let a starting pitcher go 3 innings. But the 3 perfect innings and then looking up and seeing my folks sitting above the dugout was one of the true thrills of my career and true thrills of my life.
Well, Steve, in 1980, you guys went to a 4-man starting staff. Scotty McGregor had 36 starts. Flanagan had 37. Jim Palmer had 33. And you again went right back out there, a 25-7 record, 9 complete games, 250 and 2/3 innings. And you ended up winning American League Cy Young Award. That year was special for you guys. As you said, the Yankees beat you out a couple games, but a 4-man staff throwing 200 and some innings each guy, you were out there pretty quick. How did you like that?
I liked it a lot. I had been through a system before, if you can believe this, and very few people can, but I was actually in a 3-man rotation. That was 1973. I didn't start the season as a starter, but I got my first start in June against Palmer in Baltimore, wound up beating him, but they had Wilbur Wood, and they wanted Wilbur to get out there as many times as possible, being a knuckleballer. So there we were. Eddie Fisher started the year as a starter, despite the fact that I gave up 2 earned runs all spring. They made me the 4th starter, and Chuck Tanner told me not to get too excited because I was starting in the bullpen because we were going with 3. And I said, 3? He said, yeah. And that's so I remember that year when I did finally get into the starting rotation in June, I made 10 starts on 2 days rest, and it culminated with starting a Thursday night after starting a Monday night in the same series at the end of July in Arlington, Texas. It was 1,000,000,000 degrees, and there I was. I got a loss on Monday. I got a no decision on Thursday, and I was like dancing in the streets to get a no decision. But yeah, that was my 10th start on 2 days rest. And I thought it was a fairly stupid idea at the time, but it was an era where we were on 1-year contracts, Bill. And so when Chuck Tanner came up to me and said, we can get you a start, but it would be in 2 days. And if you don't take this one, I'm not sure we can get you in for 2 or 3 weeks. Well, obviously on a 1-year contract, it's pretty obvious what you did. You took the baseball, and that's what I did. I wound up throwing 176 innings despite not having my first start until June. So it gave you an idea that we were pretty busy folks. And, it led the way to kind of understanding that when they handed you the baseball, you took it. And that year of 1980, I made 37 starts, and it was just one of those things that I really enjoyed because at that point, being an extreme curveball pitcher, I wanted to be out there as much as possible to have my feel, my rhythm, and everything else. And so for me, a 4-man rotation was ideal. And Earl hadn't started out that way. He actually started out going to have the usual 5-man rotation. And I asked him because I was undefeated the second half of the year in 79, and Dennis Martinez went 2-14. And I said to Earl, if he'd let me compete with him in spring training of 80, I was a better pitcher then. I said, maybe down the road, Dennis is going to be great. Well, it turned out he was. He won 245 games, so that's pretty great. Plus, he had a perfect game. And I said, but right today in 1980, I can pitch better than him, and I'd like you to let me compete with him. And Earl, of course, in his inimitable fashion, said, no, you can't compete with him. You're my 5th starter. Well, Dennis Martinez wound up getting hurt, and Mike Flanagan wound up getting hurt because the year before he had won the Cy, and he kind of pitched his arm out a bit. So we had the mainstays were 3 starters, me, Palmer, and McGregor, and then he would work in the other guys when they got healthy enough. But for the most part, it was a 4-man rotation. I enjoyed it and wound up winning 14 in a row that year and 19 of 20 and dominating the American League East. And I think that's what won the Cy more than anything else. The American League East was by far the best division in baseball. Between the Yankees and us and Boston and Milwaukee had Molitor and Yount and Cecil Cooper and Ben Ogilvy. But we played as a team. We understood how to win, especially late. And it turned out to be just a great thing as far as my baseball was concerned. And I just really enjoyed my stay in Baltimore.
Steve Stone joining me on the Extra Inning postgame show for a few more minutes. A phenomenal year for you, and we got to talk about that batter you made of your Rick Dempsey. Rick Dempsey caught 10 different 20-game winners in his 24-year career. And what was so special about him, Steve? What made you and him click every time he went out there? Because he just seemed like He knew what to throw at different times at different counts, different hitters, and you guys worked really well together.
Well, we did. And one of the things that he said, and there's two components to this. Number one is, as a physical catcher, he was about as good as it got. And he came up to me very early, I think in spring training, and he said, look, I know you're a curveball pitcher. I mean, we've seen you pitch. So if I call a curveball with a man at third base, I want your best curveball. I want your wipeout curveball. I want you to make it look like a strike and throw it in the dirt. And he said, and understand something, you cannot throw the ball by me in the dirt. He said, if you want to get it by me, you're going to have to throw it over my head. And he was true to form. He smothered everything down. It really was a comfort zone for me, because you want to throw that good curveball as a wipeout curve with a man at third. But, there's a lot of catchers you are not really too sure about if they're going to stop it. You can't afford to run to score more times than not, because Baltimore wasn't a high-scoring team. They seemed to always wound up with a run or two more than the opposition, but they weren't a high-scoring team. So you had to keep it close. You couldn't afford to give up early runs. And that's what Rick was able to do. But one of the things about calling the game, and Bill, you knew this, you pitched for a long time. I told Rick, as I told just about all of my catchers when I became more established as a pitcher, and I said, look, when you show me the column that says losing catcher, I'll let you call the game. But that column says losing pitcher, and you can be sure I'm going to call the game. You might have a suggestion or two, but at the end, it becomes my decision, and it worked out really well, because he was one of those guys who just could get it done. He was wonderful to have behind the plate. If you held a runner close at all, Rick was able to throw him out. He had a great pop time. They didn't cover it too much in those days, but he had a great pop time, a very strong arm. And I went half a season without a guy stealing a base because of Rick Dempsey.
As we finish up, Steve, you win the 1980 AL Cy Young Award, and it's a special award for you. No doubt about it, the year you had in 1980, and then also the All-Star game. But when you reflect on that year, everything went well. You said 14 in a row, you won in a row. What was the mental side of that game, each game? How did you prepare yourself? Because I love talking about pitching, and each game's different. Each game's a new opponent. How did you stay so focused?
It became a set of mental gymnastics that I employed in the middle of that 1979 season. I was under 500. The team was going on to win 102 games. We were really good, and I wasn't near as successful as I would like. So all the things that I read about and people talked to me about, at one point I went to see a hypnotist, but I didn't trust anybody with my subconscious except for me. So what I learned from that was how to hypnotize myself, and it was a whole combination of things. I realized that your mind, if you can get your mind to control your body, you're going to be in pretty good shape, and that's really what I worked on in the middle of '79. Essentially a set of mental gymnastics, which encompassed creative visualization, imagery, self-hypnosis, a few other things, certainly meditation on the day that I was going to pitch. And I think that it really helped. I remember many, many years ago reading a book by Sandy Koufax. It was not his autobiography. That was to come a few years later. But it was a biography of his. And in that, he said that he only had his great stuff 25% of the time. And bear in mind, this was Sandy Koufax, one of the greatest pitchers that ever played the game. And he said, if you only have your best stuff 25% of the time, what separates the men from the boys as a professional sport is learning how to win with less than your best. I took that, and the fact that he also said in the same book, people ask him the most important, what's the best pitch in the game? And he said, some people will tell you it's a good straight change. Other a well-located fastball. Others, this unhittable curveball, various pitches that people threw at the time. And he said, but the best pitch in the game always has been and always will be strike one. He said, if you concentrate on strike one, you set up a defensive at bat. If you throw ball one, it becomes an offensive at bat. So the more times you can get ahead of the hitter, the better off you're going to be. And I took a number of these things, incorporated them in a new philosophy. And this was kind of hard to me to believe looking back. But the reality was, from the middle of 1979 to the end of 1980, I made 50 starts, 5-0, and I lost 7 times in 50 starts. Now, that type of run was not for a pitcher like me. Today, it would be a guy like Paul Skeens. It would be some of the other, great pitchers today that go out there and just dominate. I couldn't really do that. But I think I came to the conclusion that I was going to get myself more mentally prepared for this performance than the guy I was competing against, because that I had control over. I couldn't allow him to outwork me. I couldn't let my opponent out prepare me. I couldn't let him want it more than I did. And so I had control over those three things. I did not have control over the size, the strength, and the ability factor of the guy I was competing against. And I was competing against some of the greats that ever played the game. And I'm talking about, the Big Red Machine. They were just an awesome team. You look there and you look at Bench and Rose and Perez and Morgan and Lee May for a while. Then there was George Foster later on. But these guys were killers.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them wound up in the Hall of Fame, which I knew I never would, because I wasn't a great pitcher. I knew that in 1980 specifically, I was borrowing this greatness, and eventually somebody in the not too distant future would come back to take it away, which is exactly what happened. And so I figured on that given day, I was better than the guy I was competing against. Even though I couldn't beat him for a career, I could beat him on that day or that night, because that day or that night was my day, not his. And that's the philosophy that I started to work on, and it worked out exceedingly well, as it turned out.
Boy, fantastic words of wisdom right there from you, Steve. And I appreciate your time today. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you. And I still think you had a fantastic career, 11 years of all the things that you did. And I want to commend you with that. But again, thanks for your time, Steve.
Okay, Bill, take care, and good luck to you.
All right. That was Steve Stone on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey keeps the postgame rolling live right here.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
On KNBR 104.5 FM and 680 AM. The sports leader.
2-2 pitch. Swing, and there's a drive in the center field. Going way back, Kauser at the warning track. At the wall! Adios! Pelota! A line shot. A laser beam. Straightaway center, and it just would not come down. And the Giants take a 1-0 lead. The 28th home run of the year for Devers.
All right, back on the Extra Inning Post-Game Show on a Sunday. Hope you enjoyed the Steve Stone conversation. What I loved about it is I'm always talking about strike one being such a great pitch, and I always reference to how many first pitch strikes to hitters. Like today, Verlander had 14 first pitch strikes at 22 hitters, and he talked about Sandy Koufax and himself being Steve Stone, and these are 20, 30, 40 years ago. So it is a good prophecy to listen to people like this talk about it, because that's how I learned how to pitch. And those are some of the things that you bring your knowledge on to the younger generation, and you do that in high school and college to understand strike one is so important because you can pitch so many different pitches off of it. So good stuff right there from Steve Stone. Of course, he won the Cy Young. Coming up next is Rick Dempsey, and I got to know Rick a little bit when he was with the Dodgers, and throughout his career I got to run into him. 24 years he was a catcher, never won a Gold Glove, and he was outstanding. When you're looking at some of the top five catchers for caught stealing, his numbers are fantastic. In 1978, first, and he never got a Gold Glove. Caught stealing 53%, 57%. 24 years in Major League Baseball. He played in 4 decades. 32 players and played in 44 different decades. Ryan, Fisk, Ricky Henderson, Tim Raines, Griffey Jr., goes on, McCovey, Mays, Jim Cott, Bill Buckner, Jerry Royce, 4 decades. And he was a catcher, and I keep saying this because you're thinking how many times he ended up kneeling down, blocking balls, and you heard Steve Stone talk about him, how he was exceptional as a block baller. So coming up next, I sit down with him, and of course he won the World Series twice, in 1983 with Baltimore, and then again with the Dodgers in 1988. 1983 just had a sensational World Series where he won the MVP, hit 385 in a 5-game series, and that was against the Philadelphia Phillies. Caught 20-game winners, 10 different kind. Scott McGregor, Tippy Martinez, Steve Stone, Mike Flanagan, Jim Palmer, so many of them with the Baltimore Orioles. And this is a man that really knows a lot about catching. This is a 2-part interview, so relax. This is a great one, so I appreciate you listening. Rick Dempsey and I talk Major League Baseball coming up next right here on the Extra Inning Post Game Show on KNBR, the sports leader.
Bill is back.
Firing it up, bringing it, all excited.
This is KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Listen on your Google Home smart speaker by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. I'm excited to bring my guest on. 24 years he played in Major League Baseball. He was a World Series champion in 1983 with the Baltimore Orioles, also in 1988 with the LA Dodgers. In 1983, he was the World Series MVP, where he hit .385 against the Philadelphia Phillies. Let's bring in Rick Dempsey. Rick, how are you today?
Good, Bill. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining me today. And I want to start off, the Little League World Series just got over. And you were part of this in 1963, where you played for the Tanoga Park Woodland Hills Little League. And you guys won the World Series. Tell me a little bit about that adventure.
Well, we didn't win the World Series, but we did get to the final game. Evansville, Indiana ended up, and actually it was the Pony League World Series, the division right out of Little League. We played Little League tournament.
So as part of that, then it was the whole thing, a whole part of
Pony
it.
League.
Yeah, I got you.
And our Little League team did win the Little League World Series, although we came in second in the Pony League World Series in the same year, right down the street from one another.
So, Rick, were you a catcher back then, or did you play infield or outfield? What position?
I played everywhere. I pitched. I played first base. I didn't get an opportunity to catch because the manager's son was the catcher, and he was a pretty big guy, pretty strong guy. So, I was the youngest guy on the team and the last guy voted to the All-Star team that year. And so, I was happy to be on the ball club.
So you ended up going to high school in Encino, California. And
right.
You got drafted in 1967 by the Minnesota Twins, and you jumped in it. You went to pro ball out of high school. A little excited then? Were you ready for it?
I really was, because I played in the semi-professional program. A lot of the major league teams had teams around Los Angeles. I happened to hook up with the Minnesota Twins. The guy who drafted me, Jesse Flores, was he was one of the scouts in California for the Minnesota Twins. So he basically was the one. I was so small, and nobody really gave me much of a chance to ever get signed, because I only weighed 145 pounds out of high school, 5'11". So when the scouts came to my house, Bill, they told my mom and dad when I left the room, but I could still hear them talking. They said, well, he's probably going to be home in 2 weeks, so don't change the furniture around in his room.
Nice incentive right there, Rick.
I know it, but I mean, it didn't bother me. All it did was motivate me.
Yeah.
You know, I was happy to get that first contract. I signed for $6,000, and I thought, geez, there was a Corvette, a yellow and black Corvette that for $6,000. I didn't realize you got to pay insurance, you got to put gas on Italy. So, but I didn't end up buying it. But that was my introduction into professional baseball.
That voice you hear on Extra Innings is Rick Dempsey. Now you sign with the Minnesota Twins. 2 years later, you're in the major leagues. And Billy Martin, of all people, was your manager with the Minnesota Twins. Excited again, but you're still so young, Rick. That's the key here.
I know it. You know, I didn't really even play the first half year. We got half a game every other day in a 2-month league, and then the following year, I went to Wisconsin Rapids, where I wasn't playing at all for half the season. I went to the manager and I said, sir, can you please send me somewhere where I can get an opportunity to play and show you what I can do? And we got along pretty well together, the manager and I, you know. So he said, yeah, Rick, I'll call the organization. So they sent me to the NYP League in Auburn, New York. And that's where things started to click for me. It was a 2-month league. 60 games. I ended up being the most valuable player in the league. I hit right at 300 and hit 7 home runs, all to right field, which everybody thought was a big deal. I didn't know that it was. But I had like 60 or 61 RBIs for the season, and so I got the MVP. I went home that winter. I mean, at the end of that summer, and a guy who was the #1 catching prospect for Minnesota, Frank Sands, a Latin player, was a big, strong guy, good player, very good player, got his eye put out when a ball tipped off his catcher's mitt while he was warming up a pitcher and put his eye out. So they invited me to instructional league with Minnesota. And I hit 600. So I know that's going to sound kind of weird, but it was true. I just absolutely started to kill the ball. And so the following year, I went back to Wisconsin Rapids again and hit, I can't remember if it was 365 or 385. And I all of a sudden was in a position where they had to either put me on the 40-man roster or had to let somebody else have me if they did. So they called me to the big leagues. And so that's where I met Billy. And, you know, Billy loved to hit and run. So he gave me the hit and run 3 times, and I got two hits right down the right field line, which he loved, hitting the ball the opposite way. And so I hit 500 my first year in the big leagues on limited playing time, obviously. But I went back to the minor leagues again, and you know, I just continued to hit. So I got called up the second year at the end of the season out of AA ball, where we won a championship in A ball in Auburn. We won the championship too. In AA ball, and so I got called up again, and I think I hit 304 or something like that. So I was showing that I could hit the ball. I still needed to learn some things defensively. You know, I didn't think I was the best at blocking the ball, but I just kept working at it, and all of a sudden it came to me, and I was moved around pretty quick down there, and I had a good arm from the beginning anyway. So everything worked out, you know, even though the scouts said, you know, he's going to be home in 2 weeks.
Now you're in the big leagues.
I was playing in the big leagues.
Yeah, you're in the big leagues. And what happens in 1972, the New York Yankees trade for you. And now you come over to the New York Yankees in the pinstripes, and you're behind Thurman Munson, and you're talking about a catcher to learn from, one of the best in the game.
Yes.
And those times in the Yankees, you played there 4 years, but in time you ended up catching. And tell me a little bit about your relationship with Thurman Munson.
Well, Thurman was great. He just was everything a catcher wanted to be. Hard-nosed guy. He'd block home plate against anybody, and he was a great contact hitter. He could spray the ball around with the best of them. Very good hitter. Not what you'd call a home run hitter, but somebody who, when the game was on the line, he's the guy you wanted up there. And so I learned from Thurman. We had a great relationship together. I'll never forget when all of a sudden I got in a little issue with one of the players, Bill Sudeikis, a big guy, about 6'3", about 230, maybe 35 pounds. And we are going down the stretch in 1975, and we're tied with the Baltimore Orioles of all teams. 6 games left. We go into Cleveland. We sweep 3. The Orioles sweep 3. Now we're going into Milwaukee. Well, Bill was kind of like the third string catcher, the second string third baseman, big guy, a lot of power, decent contact hitter, so catcher, but, it was good. We're on the airplane flying to Milwaukee, and Billy, Thurman Munson was one of the team captains, and we got on the airplane. We're sharing the plane with half people and half players, and so they're teasing Bill, Sudeikis, that he was a third string catcher. So he got mad at me because they told him that I was the second string catcher. So he came down. I'm sitting on the aisle, and he in those days they had regular utensils, knives, forks, spoons on the airplanes, So he grabs my sandwich and takes a bite, throws it in my lap, and so I go, Bill, what the heck's wrong with you? He says, I just don't like you very much. I said, well, geez, I'm sorry. What did I do? And he didn't say anything, but he took the fork and he stabbed me in the chest. And everybody got upset. They said, oh, he's way out of control now. So they finally got him to sit down. The trainers came and patted my shirt up because I was bleeding like a pig. So we got on the bus, and everything kind of calmed down a little bit, although my chest was pretty sore for some reason. Anyhow, on the bus, he just continued to badger me and everything and try to embarrass me in front of everybody because he's a pretty big boy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just didn't say anything. They were saying, Rick, let it go, let it go. So I ran off the bus when we got to the Hotel Pfister. We're in the lobby, and Bobby Mercer walks up to me, and he grabs me by the right arm. He says, Rick, you got to let it go. Big series. We can't afford to get anybody hurt. Well, Bill grabbed me by the left shoulder and whipped me around. He says, well, what's it going to be, street fighting or boxing gloves? I said, neither. I hit him 3 times and knocked him out.
There you go. Then
I just started hitting anybody who came close to me because I was in a frenzy. The intensity was off the charts. So,
well, you tried to let it go too, Rick, and that's what happens. It continues and continues until finally, the ending is, hey, I'm done with it. This is the way it's going to end, and it ended up on the right path for you. But
well, it didn't, because No Neck Williams came like a fullback after me, and he hit me and knocked me back, and I stepped on Bobby Mercer's hand and broke his hand.
Oh, no way!
Oh my God, our best hitter and our best player, and all of a sudden,
boy, that turned ugly quick.
Well, George Steinbrenner was not happy. Wanted to see us in the office. So at the end as soon as we got back, the next day, so he threw Bill out of New York. Don't ever come back to Yankee Stadium, blah, blah, blah. And I had tears in my eyes because I loved the Yankees, and I wanted to stay with them and everything. And George said, well, Thurman called him on the phone and said it wasn't my fault, So George called me in, and he says, Thurman told me that it wasn't your fault, and but sooner or later I'm going to have to get rid of you.
Well,
because
they
you should
did.
have known
They
better.
did. On June 15th,
Yes.
1976, your career turned into an exceptional career as you get traded to the Baltimore Orioles, become the starting catcher, and everything proceeded to just make one of the greatest battery mates with all the starting staff. In your career, Rick, 10 different times, 20 game winners, 10 different starting pitchers, and some of them, Scott McGregor, 20 wins in 1980, Steve Stone, Mike Flanagan, and of course, Jim Palmer, one of the greatest Hall of Fame pitchers in Baltimore history. Recalling some of these pitchers, recalling on some of the things that you guys did on the mound and behind the plate, the communication had to be key. What were some of the things you did to make these guys win so much?
We played for the most notorious manager in the game, Earl Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
He did not accept mediocrity at all. You paid attention to what he had to say. We worked on the fundamentals. We had attention to detail. Nobody dropped a ball very often. We always had our cutoff men in the right spot. We always knew our plays. He knew I could throw the ball fairly well, so I had a series of pickoff plays myself. And he demanded perfection all the time, and so it was hard playing for him because he was a yeller and a screamer, and was always threatening and all that kind of thing. But something, we learned the game and the intensity at which you had to play if you were going to be a Baltimore Oriole, and we managed to put it together quite a few times. One pitcher that you didn't mention was Steve Stone.
Right.
Steve came to us. Most games he had ever won in the big leagues was 12. So I'll never forget the first game that we were playing. He's winning 3-2. There's men on second and third, and it's the 9th inning of the game, and he's still out on the mound. So that's what pitchers did back in those days.
Right.
And so we had a right-hand hitter up with 2 strikes and no balls, and 1 out. And I called for the curveball in the dirt. Well, Steve, he got upset, called me to the mound. And, what are you doing? I'm not going to throw a curveball in the dirt and have it go to the backstop. And the tying run score and the winning run go to third with less than 2 outs. I said, Steve, listen, you're not that good. He goes, what the hell are you talking? I said, that curveball you have, there's no way I would ever miss it. Says, you throw the curveball and we'll get out of this inning. So he throws the curveball, and it's perfect right in front of home plate a foot. The guy swings at it. I block the ball, pick it up, and fire it back at him. He goes, well, what are you mad at me for? I said, well, because you haven't gotten the 3rd out yet. He gets a pop up to left field and wins his first game with the Orioles.
And he ended up getting 25 wins in one of those years, and he proceeded to be one of the great pitchers.
25 and 7.
Yeah.
Bill, unbelievable.
Rick, we'll take a quick break, come back with more. This is the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. More coming up right here on KNBR, the sports leader.
The game may be over, but we know you want to talk more ball. So KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey continues.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
We are KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show with Bill Laskey. More with my guest, Rick Dempsey. You talk about defense, Rick, the arm strength you had, the accuracy. You talked about blocking earlier in your career. You became one of the best blockers. You end up 24 years in Major League Baseball with a .990 percentage in fielding, 770 stolen bases, 510 caught stealing, 100 errors only in 24 years. You talked about it in 1976, 53.4% you threw out runners. Right back there in 1977, 57.7 percentage. It was just phenomenal behind the plate. Pitchers love throwing to you. But going on the defensive side, what did you do to continue to prepare every year to be that good blocker and the good arm you had?
Well, working on blocking, Cal Ripken Sr. always helped me. It was balls of the feet, like a ballet dancer. You always stayed on the balls of your feet if you wanted to be quick, and that's what made a difference for me. I could block the ball way off the plate, either left or right and everything. And after I got really comfortable catching every day, well, it was a piece of cake. I wanted the pitchers to learn how to throw out of the strike zone when they were ahead in the count. And so, I mean, that was a big advantage because, I could see the ball out of the pitcher's hand. I saw exactly if it came up a little too high, I didn't go down and block it. I came up and blocked it, So it was just an addition, something that you had to do if you were going to handle the quality of pitching staffs that I had and make sure they weren't great at holding guys on. I'd say they were a little better than mediocre, but, they gave me the ball in time. The rest was up to me. And fortunately, I had great shortstops and second basemen, Mark Belanger, Richie Dower, Cal Ripken, all those guys like that. And, I get it down there to them. They were always there on time. So the throwing was that. I was a little disappointed, though, Bill. I never did get a Gold Glove.
Yeah.
One year I had no errors in 134 games and did not get the Gold Glove. And the next year I only had one error and didn't get the Gold Glove. So I figured what it turned out to be was I just didn't hit enough home runs to get a Gold Glove.
Well, in 1983, you guys beat the White Sox to take the American League crown. You played the Philadelphia Phillies and you beat them in 5 games. Well, your hitting did very well, 385 in a 5-game series. You were the World Series MVP and proceeded to get the Babe Ruth Award also. That season was phenomenal for the Orioles, but boy, you put it together in that World Series. Tell me a little bit about the offensive side of Rick Dempsey, because that was a great, great World Series you put together.
Well, I made one mistake in my major league career. I mean, probably a lot of little mistakes here and there, but one big mistake. When Earl Weaver finally gave me the job after I got traded over to Baltimore, he took me out one day and he says, "I want you to put that left foot right on that white line and that right one on the line. I want you to crowd the plate. And you see that foul pole, that yellow pole down there? You hit me some home runs and you'll play every day." Well, that's all I needed to hear. All of a sudden, I happen to think that I was probably one of the best spray hitters around in any pro team. I could hit the ball down the right field line at will. But he wanted me to pull, so that top hand came into effect. When you start to try to take a pitch down the middle and pull it down the left field line, all sorts of bad things start happening to your swing. And so I pulled all my best shots into the seats foul. But my batting average also dropped 80 points. But hey, Earl kept his promise. He played me every day regardless. But in World Series and playoff times, for some reason, I just said, please just help the ball club the best you can. If you need to get somebody over, hit the ball the other way. It worked out for me in playoff and World Series, and thank God it did.
Rick Dempsey joining me for a few more minutes on the Extra Inning postgame show. As I said, 24 years in Major League Baseball. You played in 4 decades. 32 players only have played in 4 decades in Major League Baseball. But one of the asterisks that I read, only 2 times, Rick, you were on a disabled list. That is phenomenal when you're putting that gear on every day and playing every day. What made you feel so good every day? What made you stay away from injuries?
My conditioning program was only matched by one person, and that was Jerry Rice, the end for the San Francisco 49ers. He and I had the same program. One day after I got home, I started my winter workout program, never took any time off of it. I'd start long distance running 3 days a week, medium runner, 16 440s in a minute and 30 seconds with 2 minutes rest in between it. On Thursdays, I had 3 miles, which was 24 times at the 220, which was a dead sprint. So I had sprints, medium distance, and long distance, never out of shape. I mean, that's just the way it was. And, you talk about disabled list only twice. They had to break a bone. Don Gullett threw at me because I swung at a 2-ball, no-strike pitch too hard. The next one was at my head, and I got my hand up, broke my hand. And then the second time, I was with Cleveland. Bo Jackson was at third base, a chopper back to Scotty Bales, and he kind of hesitated a tenth of a second. And when I caught the ball, Bo hit me. I saw him going down, so I stayed up, and he hit me and broke my thumb. I looked at it; it was laying on my wrist. I said, "Damn, Bo, it's never bent back that far before."
You took a good hit, though. That was about the only thing, Rick. You took a good hit from Bo Jackson. That's pretty good.
A lot of notoriety. The only good thing about that broken thumb was I held him to less yards than Bosworth did.
Rick, in 1997, the Baltimore Orioles inducted you into their Hall of Fame, a prestigious award, of course, wearing that Oriole uniform for 12 years. What did that mean to you? And when you accepted it, what had came through your mind of all the memories of wearing that Baltimore Oriole uniform?
Well, God knew what he was doing. He sent me to the Baltimore Orioles, and I learned so much about baseball from a guy like Jim Palmer and Brooks Robinson, and all of these great players that were always around. Boog Powell, Frank Robinson. If you just paid attention to the things that they talked about, and then playing with guys like Eddie Murray, Ken Singleton. Are you kidding? Watching those guys hit and their approach to hitting. I was so jealous of them because I used to be a good hitter. Maybe not the power that those guys had, but I could have hit with them if I would have just stayed a spray hitter like I did from the beginning. But Earl Weaver offered me a job every day, and all I had to do was pull the ball out of the ballpark. And so, hey, my home runs went up, 13 and 14, I think. This is my max. I can't remember. But anyway, so, that's the way it was. But I learned the game from the best organization at that time. And I played for some terrific organizations. The New York Yankees were just incredible with all of the greats that used to come to spring training, Mickey Mantle, Whitey Ford, you name it. Yogi, get a chance to talk to those guys about baseball. Even Minnesota had some Jim Cott, Tony Oliva, Harmon Killebrew, and Brooks Robinson. I think they had the same mother because they were just two of the greatest people that ever played the game. And then later on, I got into a little contract dispute with Baltimore. They didn't pick up the 4th year, especially after the 2 World Series, 2 great World Series I had for them. And I decided I wanted to go play for the Dodgers. I'd never been able to play on the West Coast, and I lived just outside of Los Angeles, a place called Westlake Village. And so I went down there, and I talked my way into a big league job with Fred Clare, who I just talked to yesterday because he's going on his 90th birthday.
Wow.
And And he says, I talked my way into a job at 40 years old. I said, I hit a home run every 24 at bats. I'll drive in a run every 5. I'll take your pitching staff. We'll win our division, although we're picked to be dead last. And we'll win the National League. We'll win we'll play in the World Series. We'll win the World Series. I'll catch the last pitch and I'll give you the ball. He says, I better invite you to spring training.
And it all worked out for you, Rick.
It all worked
1988, you
out.
win the World Series with the LA Dodgers. But as we finish up here, Rick, we got to talk about rain delay theater. I've watched that video hundreds of times. Of course, with the tarp on, you came out one day, batted left-handed. You had Jim Palmer's underwear on over it.
No, that was Sammy Stewart that
there
wore
you
the
go.
Jim Palmer.
Anyway, you do an inside the park home run. You do a head first slide at home plate. One of the greatest rain delay theaters. Tell me what you thought about doing it premiere before you did it, and how did it all come about?
Well, the guy who really wanted to do it at Yankee Stadium, I'd stand out during batting practice with him in right field and catch balls. But Sparky Lyle, the famous relief pitcher, Hall of Fame, the Cy Young Award winning guy, and he had a nasty repertoire of pitches, but he wanted to do that tarp act of Babe Ruth. Whenever it rained, he said he wanted, but he never had the nerve to do it. Well, I remembered how bad he wanted to do it. And so when I was in Boston with Baltimore on the last day, tied for second place with them, I said, damn, that they're covered up the turf. It's starting to rain. I'm going to go do the rain delay act.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it started. I put a little pillow in my thing, and I went out and did a pantomime of Babe Ruth hitting on. And Babe Ruth started his major league career with Boston also, So
right. It was
so
phenomenal, and I still watch it, Rick. Yeah, you still get to watch it. It's hilarious. You did it so well, and the head first slide was the best. But, hey, Rick, I just want to thank you for your time today and reminiscing on a great career, 24 years, and what a pleasure to speak to you today.
Well, thank you for having me on there. I really appreciate it. It's nice to at least go back to Major League Baseball through you and let everybody know what a great time I had playing the game.
Well, you had a great career. That was Rick Dempsey on the Extra Inning Postgame Show. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
You're listening to the former Giants righty. It's KNBR Extra Innings with Bill Laskey.
Sponsored by Lenardi's Markets of the Bay Area. Quite simply, the best.
Heard on your Apple HomePod by saying play KNBR.
Welcome back to the Extra Inning Postgame Show as we close out a Sunday as the San Francisco Giants win today at Oracle 13-2, 13 runs, 16 hits for the black and orange, and what a great homestand. They go 5-1 on the homestand, taking 3 from the Cubs, taking 2 out of 3 from Baltimore, and in the last 8 games they're 7-1. So now they go on the road to Colorado for 3 and St. Louis for 3. Extra Inning Postgame Show will be following the Labor Day game. First pitch right here at 1:10, and that's against the Colorado Rockies. I want to thank my guests today, Rick Dempsey and Steve Stone. You can hear those interviews if you missed them on the All KNBR podcast. I also want to thank Giants fans for calling in, and of course my producer Kyle Haar and Danny Dunn for picking up the phone calls. We'll be right back on tomorrow, so have a great rest of the Sunday. Enjoy the beautiful weather here in Northern California. Be safe, be well. For Bill Laskey, have a great night. More coming up right here on KNBR, the Sports Leader.
It's another great out.